Hi, Bob.
Hello, Rich.
Hey. So what I'd love to do today is find out a little bit more about your story. I know a little bit about it from a conversation we had once, but it's time to go deeper and find a bit more about your story and then see how that relates to what you're up to now and what you're doing in a way that allows you to articulate it so that some people listening go, oh my God, I have to speak to this man.
I love that because even just the past two conversations we've had has brought me better insight as to really who I am today, and really has helped me work better at connecting myself with some people. So that's good.
So to take me back a little bit in time, you've been an executive for 30 years?
Actually, 33 years. I have 33 years of service with IBM.
Wow.
And I'm one of those people, I loved every minute of it.
I love that. I love it.
And I started way back in 1981 as a programmer, and as you know, just accelerated and I left there as an executive program manager, and it was terrific.
Mm-hmm. What did you love most?
Two things. One, working with some of the best people in the world, brightest, smartest people in the world. When I worked first with IBM, it was all internal work, and the people that that I was paired up with was some of the best and brightest, which was terrific because for me that was not something I was used to being with, best and brightest. And then as I started working with clients, because I started working as a consultant with clients, I got to work with some of the best clients in the world, right? Some of the large giants in the industry of telecommunications and insurance. And it was fun. It was fun connecting with the people there and making a change in not only IBM culture, but also a change in my clients' culture. I love working with the best and the brightest, as you see with my coaching too, and also at IBM. That was what I really enjoyed.
What allows you to work with super bright, highly smart people?
That's an excellent question. I've been asking that for the past 66 years. There are two things that kind of come to my mind when you say that. One, as you know a little bit about my story, when I was a young boy, no one in my family thought that I could be doing what I did do and what I have been doing. And we're sitting around the Hollywood holiday table once, and my cousins are always asking, like, what is it that you do at IBM? We have no idea what you do there. And finally, after so many years, one of them said, I know what it is, and the reason why you're so successful. Nobody ever wants to throw Bob Russo off the island. You play well with everyone. Everyone wants to have you on their team. And I said, you know what, you're right. He says, I don't know what you do, but whatever they're doing, they want you on the team. That's number one. Number two, I asked my best mentor at IBM, still my best friend actually, we get together often. And I said, Marty, what is it? Why do people like working with me? He says, everyone trusts you. You walk into a room, people trust you immediately. And you're non-threatening. And everybody, your reputation is you get the work done. So, I mean, who doesn't want to work with somebody like that? Your reputation precedes you, you get things done. You walk into the room, everybody trusts you immediately, and you're non-threatening. You get other people to get excited about the work, and you're just as excited when they win and they're doing well as when you're doing well. I said, okay, I buy it. I'm just, as you know, starting to begin to incorporate that into my whole being. That was always that's who I was at IBM.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, let me throw you for a second. I'm going to play with your thinking as we're doing this.
Yeah.
What was the single biggest lesson you learned from your mother?
From my mother. Well, okay. It was to laugh. Just what I just did, a hearty laugh when you asked me, what did my mother teach me? She always said she was from the part of Italy where everybody laughs. And as long as we're laughing and having a good time and there's food on the table, everything else in the world, nothing else in the world matters. So laughing. I can remember when her brother died and her other brother came to the house. Of course, she cooked a meal before we went to the funeral home, and we were laughing. And her brother said, "Yeah, let's laugh now because we're going to be crying in a few minutes, but it's okay to be laughing now." They laughed. They love to have a good time and have food. Even in the toughest times, you still laugh and be with family and have a good time. Wow. All right, that was a curveball. You're right, Rich.
What did you learn from your father? What's the single biggest lesson you learned from your father?
Love and respect everybody. And probably the values that and what I just talked about. You know, he walked into a room, everyone recognized him. He had you know, Hollywood good looks, and people recognized him because he just had that charisma, and he could talk to anyone in the room because they all wanted to talk with him. As soon as you were in his presence, people felt relaxed and calm. And he loved to talk. And he used to say, even if I talked for 5 hours, he only heard 5 minutes. That was the most valuable 5 minutes out of the whole 5 hours. And that was good. Yeah. So to just love and respect everybody, no matter who you're with.
Now remind me.
Yes.
Remind me of the story you shared with me once about growing up and what your father did and what the impact of that was on you.
Yes. So it's around money. It's about, you know, what's my mindset with money and generosity. So so one of the things that we had a car to sell. It was a car. It was my car. When my brother graduated from high school, when I graduated from high school, he bought us beautiful sports cars. He loved that. He loved the other. But then it was time to sell the car, and he was selling it for I think it was like $1,200. And at the time, this kid came and said, "Oh, Mr. Russo, I love this car. I've seen it on the street. I want it so badly. I see you've got it for sale, but I only have $1,000. And my father said, "Okay, I'll give it to you for $800. And the kid said, "What?" And he says, "You want this car so bad, that $400 difference, that $200 difference means more to you than it does to me." And he sold the car for $800. He could have easily sold it for $1,600. It was a beautiful car back then. I mean, I know this is 1969 money.
Yep.
But the fact is, he could have sold it to anybody. And you know, he could have sold that car to anybody, and he sold it to this kid for, you know, $400 less than what he was asking for. And everybody was like, "I don't understand. How could you do that?" And he said, "Yeah, that made that was that $400 investment, if you will, was in that kid. That kid will never forget that. I'll never forget it. Here I am, 60 years later, 50 years later, telling you the same story." Yeah. Can I take 30 seconds to tell you another story about my father?
Yeah.
He was the president of the Little League, and he always had the best team. Every kid wanted to be on his team. And this story that I'm going to tell you was told to my children 20 years after my father died. This kid came to my house to tell my kids about their grandfather. And this kid said, "I couldn't wait to be on Mr. Russo's team, and I was fat, and I didn't think he would take me, but he did. And the day that Mr. Russo was giving out uniforms, he didn't have one that fit me, and I was crushed, and I went home without a uniform. Every kid went home with a uniform." He said, "Later that night, the doorbell rang, and your grandfather, my father, was at the door at dinner time with a uniform that fit that kid." He said, "I'll never forget that. That's the man I want you to remember." He was telling my children, "The man I want you to remember. The one who knew how hurt I was and went out of his way and brought me the uniform that fit me that night at home." You know, he cared about everybody. He empathized with everyone. And there you go. Two very important lessons that I learned.
Yeah, thank you. That's an important story. I'm glad you shared that one with me.
I'm feeling tight,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna relax.
Well, just breathe into that, Bob. You're feeling a lot. It's
Yes.
bringing up memories of your
Well,
parents and
yeah, exactly. Thank you. And I appreciate that because I think I told you, they were with me all the time, right?
mm,
In many ways, in many forms. And now you bring them up in a way that's very positive. I appreciate that.
yeah. What have you struggled with for most of your life, Bob?
I would say the number one thing has been an imposter syndrome. I mean, really, that, and of course, which just even one level deeper is that I was gay, and I am gay, and I never attended to it at all until I was age 45.
Mm.
Married, 2 children, successfully married, 25 years, never attended to it. Always felt like an imposter. I mean, truly, truly, that's more than an imposter syndrome. That's you've got to hide and bury everything that you know about yourself to become someone else to be accepted. And, we're talking about the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So there was some really deep burying of who you are and the imposter syndrome. But even after, that's the thing. I still suffer even up until now. I mean, the imposter syndrome, as an imposter syndrome comes up, being gay is still something that's very, very difficult for me to, even though I'm married to my husband now, we've been together for 20 years, and he's well integrated into my family with my former wife and children. They all love him, and he has joined the family. It's still that's a difficult thing.
The few friends I've had who've come out, when I look at what it took, I think it's one of the most courageous decisions and experiences of their life.
Yeah, it is. I'm overwhelmed because we just saw the play, The Inheritance, on Broadway last night, which is all about the gay experience through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we're going to see the second half in 2 days. It is so courageous. It is so scary. And especially at age 45, I had to put on a totally new personality.
Yeah.
I had to put on, first of all, I was getting divorced. That was like, no one can say Bob without saying Marie. My God, we were together for 25 years. We were so successful. We were everybody depended on us. Now we're not going to be together. That's number one. And then number two, wait, Bob is gay. What the hell does that mean? And what does that even mean? How do you even start to think about yourself as gay? So that was courageous. It was not easy. But I think I told you one thing, like once I pass a threshold, I never go back. And I move forward and I put it on, and it started to feel good because it was authentic. It was who I am, and I felt very comfortable in that skin. And people started to understand. And I started to understand as I started to integrate actually who I was with who I am. It was no longer like the imposter syndrome. It was really feeling whole and being able to be one person.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It takes courage to even share a story like that.
You're welcome. There's something else that when I came out, of course, I was well known within IBM already, right? Because I was already, in that circle of people that were kind of known, and I was changing my whole identity. I was so worried about how IBM was going to view this. They were like, "Are you kidding? This is fine. This is great. You're going to be terrific. You're going to be terrific. You are terrific. You're going to be even better because you're going to be one whole person." But they were the ones too that recognized. I don't remember if the word was courage, but your adaptability. Anyone who's able to come out of that, continue to work, survive, and still do well at work, manage the family. I mean, because everybody knew Marie too, the family. Everybody knew everybody. You know, how well I managed it and adapted, and the adaptability, those are the strengths: courage, adaptability, diversity, being able to think, cliche, think outside the box, right? Not being afraid to take risks. That's what it was.
Mm.
And they wanted to promote that with me, right? It proves that not only your courage, but you're not afraid to take risks. And that was like when I went from, like, you know, middle management all the way up to the executive level, like it shut me up, because I moved into who I was, and I really started to feel like I could take risks, and I could be successful at it.
Mm.
Does that make any sense?
Oh, it makes complete sense. It really does. And the crazy thing about it is that we're taught to be so afraid of being ourselves, of being authentic. We make up all these stories about what's okay in our environment. And those rare moments when rare individuals step into being themselves fully expressed, owning who they are, it's almost counterintuitive that people appreciate us more, they like us more, we get more promotions, we get more successful.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. And you want to know something too? So, I mean, so like the past couple of weeks, even after we talked, you pushed me into that very strongly. I'm feeling it more again now. I am feeling power, and I know there is, so I feel like I did back then 20 years ago. And I also feel like I did very, very excited, very, very full, of who I am and where I'm going, and it feels right. Everything we talked about, what I want to do, where I want to go, you know, the foundation for the arts, working with the best people in the entire world, going into and working with every executive and being that business advisor and counsel, not just a coach, but the business advisor, all of the executive experience I have. It's who I am, and I'm starting to embody it. It's very empowering. Or even at this moment, I'm feeling a surge of energy. I had coffee with somebody yesterday who I've been working with, not as a client, he's a fellow coach and also a project manager. And he said, "Bob, you're on fire. I can't stop you." He said, "I feel that power." I said, "I know." He says, this is like a new energy. I said, "I feel it." He said, "Everything you're talking about is you talk it in a way that I can feel it right now." Oh, I know what it was. You're the one who said to me, it's not a goal, it's where you come from. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand that one either. And I thought about it, ruminated on it for a couple of days, and all of a sudden, holy mackerel, yes, it's where I'm coming. That's who I am. If I start thinking about it, how do I dress? How do I feel? How do I bring myself to a meeting? I bring myself to me as the person who I am going to be. It was like, whoa. And he's like, "Yep, you did it." But there's a guy that I had coffee with yesterday. I told him that. I said, "You were the one who said this, a goal is not something you...
It's not a place to get to, it's a place to come from."
Come from.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're already there."
Bob, tell me, where in Italy did your mum's family come from?
That's a great question. And I'm trying to find out. That's why I'm going back to Italy in June, in August. She always says Calabrese, and they're very fun, loving, sitting, eating kind of people. I have to get to Calabria, find out. I don't have her papers as well as I do with my father's papers. His parents came from Sicily and a little place right outside of Naples. And I'm going there. What's that?
What's dawned on me? When was the last time you saw The Godfather?
Oh, God.
I tell you what's dawned on me. What you are, what I'm always looking for, you've probably heard me say this, most coaches make the mistake of thinking that they're a coach, and they use the word coach as a label. It's not a label, It's a tool. You pull out of your toolbox when you need it. And what you are, you're a consigliere.
You really are messing with my mind now in many, many ways. I have to think about that.
So what does a consigliere do? They are the advisor to the brightest and smartest people in their world.
Yes.
I'm having some fun taking that out of the Godfather theme.
No, but you're right.
Italian roots. Okay, let's play. I'm going to jump into this and see where we go.
All right.
All right. So you relax. Let this float over you and see where it lands. And let me play. Let me look at my notes and see where I'm going to go.
All right. Yes,
Oh,
you
I'm
got
going
it.
to play this way. I'm going to go differently. You know what? I'm going to do this as if I'm you, actually. So rather than trying to talk about Bob, I'm going to do it as if I'm you telling some of your stories. So I won't be perfect, but you'll get the sense of it. But I'll do it.
I'm going to enjoy this very much, Richard.
Okay. All right. Let me tell you a story about my father. He bought me a beautiful sports car years ago when I was really young. When it came time to sell that car, we put it on the market. It was $1,200. And this young kid came to my father and said, "Oh, I love this car." He looked it over. He knew this was his dream car. And he said, "Mr. Russo, I love this car and I've only got $1,000. Is there any way you can sell me this car?" My dad looked at him and said, "Yeah, I'll sell you that car. I'll sell it to you for $800. And the kid couldn't believe what he just heard. He didn't quite understand what was happening. You see, at the heart of who my father is in the world is the word generosity. He's just this generous man. If this kid could just afford $1,000, he knew that meant that really 800 was his limit. And whilst he could have got $1,600 for that car, you're paid back so much more when you come from a generosity of spirit. Let me tell you another story about my father. You see, he was president of the Little League. And the thing that we would hear the most from kids was, "I can't wait to be on Mr. Russo's team." 20 years after my father passed away, a man came to sit down with me and my kids, my father's grandchildren. And he told them a story about how he couldn't wait to be on Mr. Russo's team. But back then he was a chubby little kid. He was overweight and the uniform, there wasn't a single uniform that fit him. And he was mortified and he cried and cried because there was no uniform that fit him. He went home that night crushed. When the doorbell rang that night and Mr. Russo showed up at his family's home, he didn't know what was happening. What my father did was brought him a uniform that fit him. That story is something that man never forgot. So much that 20 years after my father died, when he was now grown up, he shared that story to my own sons. I'm crying, Bob, as I'm telling you this. I couldn't wait to be on Mr. Russo's team. You know what's crazy is that whilst they used to say that to my father, that's what happened to me too. I started at IBM at 33 years old and I left at 66 years old. 1981, I went in as a programmer and I left as an executive. I helped build a change in culture. I worked with the brightest, smartest people in the world, leaders at IBM and leaders of other organizations who we were working with. You know what the secret of my success was? It's what my father taught me. It's that everybody wanted to be on Mr. Russo's team.
Oh, shit.
You see, people trust me. They just trust me. Let me tell you a story about my mother. When her brother passed away, this is a woman who would just laugh heartily in even the toughest of times. This is a strong Italian woman. There was nothing more important than laughter and food on the table. When her brother passed away, her and her other brother were laughing, and the other brother said, "You know what? We may as well laugh now because we know we're going to be crying later." people trust me because I bring that sense of laughter even in the toughest of times. People don't find me threatening. I built a reputation for getting things done and for being loved whilst doing it. I built a reputation for helping others get things done because I'm excited when other people win. You know what most people don't know about me? They don't know that I felt like an imposter for most of my life. I felt like an imposter working alongside the brightest and smartest people in the world. And underneath that, I had a secret. Until I was 45 years old, I hadn't told the world that I was gay. I had these hidden secrets inside of me. I was a father, a husband, a great family, a great relationship. It took a lot of courage to come out in the world and own who I am. I was terrified, not just about what might happen to my family, but in the organization in which I worked. And I was astounded when the leaders in IBM said, it's fine. Not just that it was fine, but I got promoted. They saw that I'm a man who's courageous, who's adaptable, who's not afraid to take risks and loves to think outside the box. And you know, once I pass a threshold, I never go back. Here's the thing. As much as I can still, to this day, feel like an imposter, authenticity feels even better. If you are one of the brightest, smartest people in your world, I'm known as a consigliere. I'm known as a trusted advisor, a coach, a consultant, a guide to high-level leaders. I help them take risks. I help them be courageous. I help them think outside the box. I'm building a foundation for the arts. If you are ready to let go of the limitations that are holding you at the level that you're at today, even though you're seen as one of the brightest, smartest people in your world, then you and I should have a conversation.
Richard, I'm shaking. My legs are shaking. You're brilliant. That was brilliant. That was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I don't know if I think I told you that the reason why you and I are together is in early December, just December, I shut up at bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and I said, I need a coach. And I just said, I need a coach. And I haven't been thinking about I need a coach, but I just all of a sudden, I need a coach. And I said, who is going to coach me? Who? And Rich Litvin came to mind. And I don't know where. I wasn't like reading your book at the time. I wasn't thinking about it. It was like 2 in the morning. I can tell you right now. Rich Litvin. Okay, I looked you up. I saw the application. I filled it out. I said, it's a message in the bottle. It'll never happen, but I'm putting it out there in the universe. Something's happening at 2 in the morning. I forgot about it. Jay and I went to Paris the month of December. We had a great time. I came back. Laura says, do you want to see Rich? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then I forgot about it. It was like a month later. And it came up, and here we are. This is why, just for this past 30 minutes, if we do nothing else together ever, then you know I told you we're going to be together forever. If we don't do anything together, this was worth everything. This past 20 minutes was worth everything. Thank you very much. And that's why we're together. I know it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let yourself feel everything you're feeling. Thank you. I was moved to tears. I was moved to tears when I shared those stories.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So We're going to pause in this moment. I'm going to give you space to go out and have a great dinner this evening. Let yourself feel everything you're feeling. What I wanted to do for you today was speak you into the world to help you see the things. We can't see the water we swim in. And today you got to see it, and you get to take this out into the world and have it be part of the story that has people say, of course, I have to. Well, they're going to wake up at 2. So someone's going to wake up at 2 in the morning and think, I need a coach. And Bob Russo is going to come to mind, and they're not going to know why. And this is why.
This is why. It's all connected. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.